We talk about the pillars of life being what you put in your body, being moving, right? Fitness, health, mindset, your spiritual aspect. When all these things are at a high level, you're living full fuel. You're operating at the highest level possible. Where are you maybe the least optimized? Okay, I'm making a lot of money. Okay, like my health is decent, but man, I'm always in a negative mindset. So maybe working on that mental fortitude.
We don't want to go through entrepreneurism with the game of we don't feel gratified at the end of the day.
It's time to reinvent.
Welcome to the Lessons of Entrepreneurship, the journey of reinvention. And today I have some very special guests. This is going to be exciting because we're going to get to learn how to be optimized. Matt Tack and Dr. Alfred Alessi, and they've started a movement to live life full fueled. What does that mean? I'm so excited to have you here. Please, guys, introduce yourself.
Absolutely. It's meant to be played on that level of fulfillment, living life full fuel, to be fully optimized in your mind, your body, your spirit, your work, and all the things that encompass life in general. We don't want to go through entrepreneurism with the game of we don't feel gratified at the end of the day. I think we lose that a lot of times in entrepreneurship. Specifically, we don't have that grounded presence. And that's what we're bringing back home, and how we feel full fueled or fully optimized is really feeling grounded and gratified at the end of the day, that you're really truly present with maybe your spouse, your kids, and your work. And there's also a pleasure in that of things that you truly enjoy to do. That's what ultimately it means to us, and why we're inspiring this movement of what it means to be full fueled.
I think also just the balance, right? Maintaining balance in all areas of life. We talk about the pillars of life being what you put in your body, being moving, right? Fitness, health, mindset, your spiritual aspect. When all these things are at a high level, you're living full fuel. You're operating at the highest level possible. That's definitely the approach we take and what we try to motivate others.
I think it's so timely because there's so much of sometimes grind culture. And it becomes like either you're working so hard, you're making a lot of money, but you're overweight, you're tired all the time, you're grumpy, you hate everybody. But you started off with this vision of creating a fuller life and creating a rich life. And you end up compromising all these aspects to try and win as an entrepreneur. So I'm so excited to speak to you today, guys. Please tell me, how did all of this start?
We met a number of years ago, actually, at church. And then he actually went out to Colorado to practice, then came back, and we met at a social club and kind of interacted. Didn't realize how much we liked each other at that moment. But I reached out to him a couple times because I was looking for a podcast partner. We have the Full Field podcast, and I was really looking to do it with somebody. I wanted to have a co-host. And so I was pressing on him early in the relationship. I was like, hey, man, would you want to do a podcast? Man, that sounds awesome. But he's also a doctor, so he's super busy too at the same time. I was like, it would be really cool if we just set up a day and we can shoot a few episodes. We decided to do it one day, and we realized that there was like a strong connection there. We flowed. Like, it was a lot of fun. It was just something that we really enjoyed to do. He came up with this name of like, how about we call it the Full Field Podcast? And I felt like he got it downloaded by God, and we've just rolled with it. And that's what we rolled in terms of a brand. And then what is the mission behind it? And as I aforementioned, all the things, that's what it really means to live that full field life. But that's how it started.
We could not be more aligned when it comes to like our mission and what we're trying to empower others. Speaking for myself, educating other people is where I get the most pleasure. I love that. That's my favorite thing. Obviously, I like treating patients and I like seeing them and obviously helping them. But when I can educate someone on like why something is happening, that's where I find I'm clicking. And so that's what we're using this platform for. Like, how do we educate people on how to live a healthier life, how to find balance, how to become more fit, right? How to operate in a higher level in any aspect. We're both very passionate about that. We look the part, we walk the talk, as you would say. And so it's easy, I guess. There's business partnerships or relationships you get into where there's friction. And I don't feel like we have that because we're constantly on the same page. You get what I'm thinking all the time and vice versa. I'm like, you want to do this? He's like, yeah, let's do it. And so we just move with that.
I love that. You know what? Kudos to you, Matt, for being the person who's, hey, let's meet, let's meet.
Let's go.
You know,
Yeah.
it's hard for entrepreneurs sometimes to come out of, I want to collaborate with someone and I want to find someone who's a values fit. But the way I guess society is going, where everyone wants to keep more to themselves, but at the same time, we do need that partnership, especially in entrepreneurship. I like how this started. You meet up, you decide, okay, let's do the podcast. And how does that morph into what becomes this movement? Because a lot of people have podcasts, a lot of people have messages, a lot of people have a certain vision, but there's that leap to movement. Maybe talk to us about that.
Yeah, we actually just talked about this today in terms of how we all have a vision, right? People think of ideas all the time. Some of them are really good and then some of them are really bad too at the same time. And it's when do you provide action to those movements? That's really important to decipher. There's like a level of discernment that you have to have, but there's so many people that it's just inaction all the time, right? Oh, I got this really good idea. And then there's no action behind it. For me, I look at it a little bit differently. John Maxwell talked a lot about this. I'd rather fail and then learn from that. So if it doesn't work out, man, like, why did that fail? And I'll give you case in point. We decided that we're going to back off a supplementation company that I had been working on for a long time. He had some stake in it too. For some reason, it wasn't moving at the pace that I thought it would. I was like, I invested a lot of time into that, like a lot of energy, resources, a lot of money into it. And this is the tough part, is knowing when, man, there either needs to be a pause on that, or it might be just a complete failure. What is the redirection or the realignment of focus to then take action on? And I always like to say, I want to go in the position of where momentum's at. Everyone has momentum in their life. They just need to find it. So we had to really backtrack in terms of utilizing that discernment of, okay, I chose to go on that path. And then it was one of those things where I took action, and I do not regret it because I took action. And I'm not going to regret it because action was taken, and sometimes failure will come. And that's what people fear on the other side, is that, man, what are people going to think of me when I have to say I failed at this? Like, it didn't work out the way I thought it was going to work out. I choose to live life like that. There's going to be a lot of failures in life, but I always go back to this and the guys we coach. I'm like, guys, you always have to look at your 85-year-old self. What is your 85-year-old self going to thank you for doing? Because he's not going to thank you for inaction. And so I always want to go to the point of, like, my 85-year-old self. God willing, he lets me live to 85. What did he thank me that I did potentially today or last year, or whatever it might be? That really is what motivates me as an entrepreneur, is that it's okay to fail. It really is. And that is going to come through action. You're going to fail every day in some capacity or another. But then also, how do I learn from that? It's almost that cyclical process of try it. If it did really well and there's momentum there, man, I want to hop on that a little bit more and double down. If I failed, why did I fail? And is there something that I could maybe slightly pivot to get a little momentum there? Or is it, I don't see momentum going there at all? I'm going to utilize discernment here. It might need to be a straight cutoff. So those are the things that always process through my head. We talk about all the time because we're idea guys. And sometimes we just have to be like, actually, no, that's a great idea, but it's a not now idea.
That's almost daily that we're like, hey, not right now. Because we're always like the next thing, and that's entrepreneurs. You see the shiny lights and you want to jump on something. Oh, there's some potential here, or there's a possibility for something big. But hey, we also got 8 other things going on right now. Maybe we should stack on to that.
That's a good message, because sometimes we're so worried that what will other people think? And yet there's some people who are admiring you because you took an action that they wish they could have taken, even if it leads you to, okay, let's start again. You've rallied some people, you've ignited some things in some people who you thought are thinking, oh no, that person failed. They're like, wow, that person actually did this. And you never know who you're inspiring along the way. I'm interested. You guys are ideas guys, and you're constantly bringing ideas to each other. In the beginning of this relationship, because our audience is like early entrepreneurs. In the beginning of this relationship, how do you say, you know what, Matt, that's not such a good idea. Or Dr. Alessi, not right now. How do you bridge that to the point where you understand each other to say no, or that's not good, or that's not a great idea, or we're doing this wrong?
Early on, we quickly realized that we are both the same in that we'll jump at stuff or we'll make quick decisions, which honestly, I kind of like operating my life that way, because I'll jump on something and then you give it a shot. If it didn't work out, it's okay. Cut it on to the next, obviously with the level of making smart decisions. But we also operate in this 90-day kind of forum where we're like, hey, let's try it for 90 days, see what happens. If it doesn't work, let's pivot. Let's maybe shift to something else. But when this started, we had obviously the podcast going. And then we had this idea one day of, man, we're getting some inquiries from guys asking us about stuff. What if we started coaching some guys? So then we built this coaching platform. created an app, created a whole workout program, fitness app where guys are in this community. That took off and got a lot of traction. These guys are getting amazing results. Then we're like, how do we create this community now and dig even deeper? We're creating a whole platform for that now. We had the idea to build a luxury spa within my chiropractic clinic called Full Fuel Labs with a sauna, cold plunge, a whole recovery area. That's doing awesome. We get these ideas that come to us. And again, if it doesn't work for 90 days, I think as an entrepreneur, you got to be willing to take that risk. That's the game, right? If you don't want to take risk, then 9 to 5 desk jobs probably better off for you. But when you're an entrepreneur, risk, it is inherent in what we're doing.
You're talking a lot about guys. I'm getting a sense that this is like optimizing for mostly your target audience that is males or entrepreneur males. Maybe tell us a little bit more about this movement, who it's for, and the core of what this is about.
We don't want to leave out women. I'm a dad of 3 girls. I have some powerful women in my house. We coach all guys right now. We'd like to actually build out a women's platform, but it is all guys right now. But I'm a big believer in empowering women too. That's one of the things that in my marriage is really important to me. And one of the things is I want to elevate her. I think that as an alpha male today, we've taken it out of context what an alpha male really looks like. And I think it many times it's being able to elevate a woman in your household, right? I want to make sure that I'm elevating my wife and empowering my wife in our household so that we can come together to raise 3 strong young girls. To answer your immediate question, though, in terms of like our total avatar, we cater to a lot of entrepreneurs that are probably in their 30s. Maybe they're just starting out a business or they have a successful business and they've really lost track of their health. And I just had a reel come out today on this is that many entrepreneurs, they are always thinking in the future, like it's money, right? I got what's the next thing or what's the next shiny object. I see it all the time from guys. Like, what's the next thing? And then I always come back, and this is why we're so passionate about health and helping other people with this, is that you need to focus on your health first because you're doing stuff to your greatest asset, which is your body. And so when you can focus on that, you can likely make more money, right? You're thinking clear. I always say when the body moves, the mind grooves. So you are focusing on that health and that optimization. And then you likely are expanding your earning years. So if I focus on my health today, I likely can make more money in the future, right? Because I'm healthier. Instead, I'm waiting for a rainy day of like when I have gut issues or my thyroid going out, which that just happened to a gentleman that Dr. Alessi worked with and actually has brought back from like serious health implications where like those things, you're waiting for a rainy day to happen. Then I got to focus on my health. And so that entrepreneur that really is focused in that mindset of like, how do you bring it back home? Because I want to set myself up and I want to set an example first and foremost to like my offspring as kids. Dr. Alessi has 2 boys, I have 3 girls. And how are we setting that example, that legacy example of what health looks like so that again, you can be present. You can be present in the home. You can be present at work. You can be present in more areas of your life because your health is more optimized.
How many times have you heard of the guy who was a serial entrepreneur, businessman, grinding forever, finally gets to the point where he's got enough money to do something fun with it and he dies because his heart's not working, right? Or he has a major health issue and he can't even enjoy this life that he's created for himself. And so if we talk about balance, like I'm not saying you need to live right now, YOLO, that kind of whole toxic thing, but it's more maintaining a state of health is going to only help with your business and your entrepreneurial endeavors, right? When your body is able to, like you said, the mind grooves. When your body is in a state of health, your mind is going to be more sharp. You're going to be more apt to make decisions. You put on a different image. You look like this confident person when it comes to meeting other people. So it only benefits you. And obviously then long-term for you to enjoy and reap the rewards of what you put in the effort for.
Absolutely. I'm thinking about the entrepreneur that's listening, that's thinking, you're talking to me right now. I'm one of those who's, what is going on? Something is going on. You keep saying tomorrow or next week, or if you've got a family, I'll wait for school holidays and then I'll start to focus because I can only do this and this, and it's Christmas and New Year's. What can I do today, guys, to make a shift in the way I'm doing things right now?
I go up with the mentality of doing something more difficult early. I'm a big believer in having a bedtime and waking up early. I like waking up before my kids so that my kids don't dictate my day. Usually kids have kind of piss poor attitude, for lack of better word, when they wake up in the morning. And so they usually then dictate your day, right? I was actually listening to something today. There's 8 things. I can't remember all 8, but 8 things that will set you up for a bad day. I can honestly tell you, I rarely have bad days. I surround myself with amazing people, but I wake up with the attitude that I'm going to dictate the day. And usually that starts with a cardiovascular activity. But I'll tell you the truth is that it's not what you really do that day. It's what you do the night before. And so how are you preparing your body for the next day and preparing things? So one of the things that I do is I'll make my shake in the morning and I'll put it in the refrigerator. So I don't got to make that in the morning. I already know it's there, right? I get my water bottle out at night so that it's prepared in the morning. I immediately can get on the Peloton. Those are some of the things that you can prepare for. It's almost like that wind down. There might be just a few things that you have in a wind down routine to get optimized sleep. We preach on sleep. Sleep is one of the most imperative things you can do for longevity as your body. The central nervous system is pushing out all sorts of fluid to really cleanse your brain of all the thoughts and all the things that you joggled around in it all day, right? How are we protecting our brain for the purposes of longevity? It's through sleep. And that's how your body really repairs itself. Sleep needs to be optimized and is the most important for you to operate every single day. So that is one way to me. And then waking up and doing something difficult. I am not a believer at all. I did it for a number of years where I think it's probably Gary Brecka and all these guys. You need to have a morning routine and they're cold plunging, they're working out. It's like what entrepreneur has that time, especially an early entrepreneur that is like a 2-hour type morning routine. You don't have that. I like to optimize those things very efficiently. So what I'll do is I prepare the night before. I get optimized sleep. One thing I do is I read scripture in the morning. I work out in the Peloton. I do something hard and then I work on my core because I like keeping a six pack. I do some core work and then I'm done. It probably takes me, the Peloton takes the longest. It takes about 30 minutes, but it's hyper focus allows me to really get time efficiently. So it's 6 to 6:30 and then I'm taking the girls off to school. I need to optimize time, right? I'm not this where I have hundreds of millions of dollars. I have my exposal where I have 2 to 3 hours to do whatever. We got to work too. As an early entrepreneur, do something difficult. And it typically is how you're going to present your body. Maybe it might be running, it might be working out with a kettlebell or something that you can do rather efficiently. That you're like, man, I did something really difficult in the morning. Now I can set my day up for success.
On top of that, real quick, I'll just say, and this is what we coach all our guys and anyone really, you have to evaluate first. You have to know where you are to know where you're going before you just start randomly doing things. You got to set some goals. And the easiest way to do that is break it into pieces of life. Where are you maybe the least optimized? Okay, I'm making a lot of money. Okay, like my health is decent, but man, I'm always in a negative mindset. So maybe working on that mental fortitude. Now, how do I approach that? Let's see. I'm going to start with some gratitude in the morning, right? Easy thing to do to start your day with gratitude, to shift your brain into a more positive way. Or maybe it's sleep. Maybe you don't sleep at all because you got kids, you got a busy schedule and all this stuff and the stress. So your sleep is not optimal. Everything else is going okay. Work on one thing at a time, coming up with a baseline and then say, how can I get just 1% better tomorrow? But eventually those 1% become 20%, 30%. And then now you improve in a big way.
Thank you for that. I can definitely see that center of taking control of the different parts of your life so that you can be fully present and fully optimized. I'm so interested because I think for the entrepreneur that's listening, that's thinking, how do I go for that entrepreneurial success and that balance of life? Because they're probably looking at you. And in the beginning, as entrepreneurs, we're like, okay, I just need to make X amount of money and then I can have balance because I keep thinking about this money thing. So I'm interested in you guys. What do you think the things that have contributed greatly to the success and the things you're doing?
Yeah. The key to any growth, especially in business and entrepreneurship, is systems, right? We talk about this all the time. When you can create systems that then function and they're working on their own, you are now leveraging your time in a way where you're going to free that time up, right? So I am very diligent in my clinic and in our clinic about training our staff to know when they're doing things and at what time. And what that does is that's allowed me now to have an hour in the middle of the day to go work out. Whereas before it was like that hour in the middle of the day between morning and afternoon shift, I was trying to catch up on all these things. But no, now that stuff is all just being handled because we have a system in place where it's getting done. And so then now I've leveraged that time for myself.
Another thing too, that's so good. We talked a little bit about this in the beginning of the podcast, but it's this idea of collaboration. Everyone feels like they need to do it themselves. So even as a solo entrepreneur, I got to do everything myself. And especially if I'm like tight on capital and tight on funds. I remember when I just got into real estate, I was investing in a few houses. I'm like, man, I got to do everything myself. I can't spend money. And so speaking to that individual, if it's an early entrepreneur, there are ways to really buy back time. And it really is buying back the efficiency of time. I struck a deal with somebody today. So we have this full fueled and we're like, focus on time, right? We're getting a lot of momentum. I was talking about where's momentum at, right? We're having a lot of momentum with our clinic. We have a lot of strategic initiatives. We've brought in new growth areas and we're hitting some really strong KPIs over the last 4 to 5 months. And for the entrepreneurship world, you need to know what a KPI is. It's key performance indicators. You need to evaluate your businesses on a weekly basis of what those key KPIs are in your business. So those KPIs that we're running on, we're like, okay, that's where momentum's at. And then we also have the full field brand. And so then it deciphers, we don't want to take away that focus, but we also need to grow that a little bit more. There was actually a gentleman that we struck a deal with today that we're doing a rev share on. So instead of it being out of pocket, we're like, hey, you do what you're good at, which is the marketing side of things. We'll do what we're good at, which is going to be the coaching side of things. And we're going to split revenue. When somebody comes in, we'll split it. And so you can rely on other people. I think when it's community based, there was a book written by a young woman, I forget the author's name, but like everything is figureoutable. And as an entrepreneur, as Dr. Alessi said, there's a level of risk associated to everything. So yeah, you might need to spend sometimes, but then you also might need to find that individual where you're like, hey, could we maybe do a rev share deal? Ask better questions. We call them ABQs, ask better questions. And so if you can find that, then you can maybe find some momentum in some areas. Really, it's going in with the attitude, I'm just going to figure this out, right? I'm going to figure it out, whatever it is. I just got to put something together. And you might need to ask and you might need to be persistent in many ways, but I'm going to figure it out. Somebody said that if it's not okay, it's not the end. And so everything's going to be okay in the end. If you're dead, that's when it's not okay anymore. So you just want to make sure you come in with that attitude, eyes wide open, ask better questions. And then that community base is huge in entrepreneurism as far as identifying that community and projecting that out into the world. One thing I'll also note is that positive self-talk. One of my coaches said he always has that angry drunk uncle that's always yelling at him. That's off. And he's shut up, drunk uncle. I'm going to do this. And so it's just telling that person to shut up. I'm going to do this. I'm going to figure it out. That's the game of entrepreneurism. It's just being consistent, persistent, and trying to figure it out.
You've given us how to optimize for health and getting your day started the day before, and then how to optimize your business with systems. And also to understand, I'm just reiterating what you said about the new entrepreneur, knowing that you don't have to do everything. You need 10 years to be a good coach. Why not find someone who's already a good coach and then use what you know how to do and reduce all that stress and trying to grow in different areas all at once? I do love this concept of optimizing. And I think as early entrepreneurs, if you can do that early in the journey, it really helps you in a lot of ways. I'm interested to know maybe some of the hardest parts of finding balance and optimizing for business that you guys have experienced.
Yeah, the hardest parts, I think it just has to be that it's going to be you as an entrepreneur doing the same thing every single day for a long time and not seeing much at the beginning. And you're like, wow, this is very mundane, but it's when you do it and you do it and you do it over and over again that it pays off dividends on the back end. I think too many entrepreneurs give up, right? And to be frank, and maybe this will ruffle some feathers, but they probably aren't entrepreneurs at spirit. Because truthfully, I should have quit 3 years ago when I was nosed out and just tried to grow this business. And you're just constantly doing the same things. And you feel like, man, I'm just running this treadmill and I'm not going anywhere. But then bam, like something clicks and you're like, wow, all that work paid off because I just kept with it. If you just stick with it, you don't quit and just do the things daily that are going to move the needle forward, it eventually does catch up with you. So I do think that's the hardest part though, is like when you're not seeing massive growth. Think about somebody who goes on the weight loss journey. You see the before picture and then you see 5 months, 6 months later, the after picture, and you're like, oh my gosh. But if you took a picture every single day, there's not a ton of change from day to day, but it's that grand scale of change that is where the biggest differentiator is.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think if there's one or maybe 2 words, and they both combo each other. It's persistency and consistency. You got to figure it out. And when you're consistent with something, it is 100% like a weight loss journey. Building muscle is just doing the small things consistently over and over again. And sometimes they don't seem like they're working. Sometimes you do need to make some slight pivots too. But one of the greatest attributes that Warren Buffett and Steve Jobs both said they had was focus. And so sometimes you got to eat crap for 3 years until you see the result, right? But many people don't want to wait that 3 years to see the result. But if you do something for that 36 straight months, can you imagine doing something for 36 straight months, like having awkward and uncomfortable conversations for like almost every day for 36 straight months? You get no. People tell me no all the time to the optimizers, because to give clear strategy in terms of like how you can generate leads is you post more, right? And then when you post more, people might like your content, right? Or even share it or comment on it. You can engage in conversation with those people, right? So they just liked your post, or they liked your comment, or they started following you. And I send them a quick message. Hey, you here for the vids, or are you looking to optimize? I'll just be flat out honest with them. And if they respond, then it's just a conversation that's added up. And so I get told no, like all the time, but no, it's like you look at them and you're just like, man, we could really do something here. But at the same time, you hear no's. It's a lot of no's, but that one yes, it's the power of one more. What if it was just that one more? And I promise you, you get enough at bat, one's going to leave the ballpark. That's really what it's about.
I think playing on that though is think of what have you done every single day for the last 36 months? Brush your teeth every day for the last 36
Brush
months?
my teeth.
You have. And that's because that's something that is like a non-negotiable for you. This is something this guy says all the time is what are the non-negotiables? For both of us, it's exercise, right? I'm going to move my body every single day. I can 100% say I have moved my body in a way that has gotten me either sweating or done some kind of stress to my physiology every single day for probably the last, maybe 10 years since I was an athlete in college, whatever. And so those are the things that you just created, these non-negotiables. I'm going to do this. Now, when it comes to your business, what is that? You have to determine obviously for yourself, but whether you're trying to get more leads, okay, you got to do the phone calls every single day. Or like he said, the posting online or the comments and the chats, whatever it is, you got to do it and just do it every day. Make it a non-negotiable.
I think we've ended in a really good place. I like that non-negotiables and really optimizing for that momentum, being consistent and persistent to get to where you're going and not giving up. Just keep going. You'll get somewhere good. I'm excited about that. And I like the little phrase, your junk uncle, the mindset. You got to chase away all those junk uncles. That's a good one.
That's right.
Thank you so much, guys. Please let us know where we can follow you, where we can learn more about what you're doing.
I'm on Instagram at fullfueled_doc, DOC. My clinic is Alessi Functional Health. We're on Instagram, Alessi FX Health.
I'm at human.optimizer, and then on Facebook, Matthew Tack. And then if anyone listening is in Tampa Bay, this guy's absolute best chiropractor around. He is hands down one of the best patient care doctors you'll ever see.
Also, Full Fueled Podcast is where they can hear more about what we're doing. And then fullfueled.com is our website for that.
I'm excited to see where this is going to go. And I'm hoping that, Matt, by the time your 3 daughters grow up, there's going to be a women's thing and it's going to be an exciting movement there too. So
That's coming soon.
That's right. Coming soon.
Thank
Thank you
you
so
so
much,
much.
Priscilla.
Thank you.
It's been awesome.